From the pages of MikeHuckabee.com, the one-stop shop for all my columns, hot takes on the news of the day, and more, let's take another look back at some of the stories from the week that was. First up, President Biden gave his first State of the Union address this week. At least I think he did. I tuned in to watch, and something bizarre happened. I believe due to some weird atmospheric anomaly, my satellite dish picked up a State of the Union address for a totally and by a totally different President Biden speaking from an alternative universe. Now, in this parallel universe, the alt President Biden spent the past year strengthening international relations and the past few months working with our allies to get sanctions in place that would have Vladimir Putin and his Ukrainian invasion plans right on the ropes. But in our universe, the real one that most of us live in, our President Biden pulled a botched Afghanistan withdrawal without consulting our allies, and he signaled that America was an unreliable partner. Our Biden admitted just last week that the sanctions on Russia, which he waited too long to impose, just flat didn't work, as Putin continues his horrific assault on Ukraine. Now, in the alternate universe, a record number of new jobs were created last year. But in this universe where we live, people return to their old jobs that were artificially shut down by the government. And we're still millions short of where we were before the pandemic. In the alternate universe, inflation can be cured by just ordering business to lower their prices, while also forcing them to raise wages and pay much higher taxes. But in the real world, our universe, inflation is caused by the government printing too much money. And wages and taxes are actually two of the biggest costs of doing business. In that alternative universe, COVID isn't a reason for Americans to be divided, but in the real universe we live in, it has been a reason, especially for the left, to demonize people, fire them from their jobs, and even refuse them medical care. In the alternate universe, Joe Biden denounces illegal immigration and skyrocketing crime, and he calls for more funding for police and gets standing ovations from the Democrats for saying that. But in our universe, the world we've been living in, it was Joe Biden who opened the borders, smeared our Border Patrol officers as whip-cracking racists. It's Biden that wants to tear down the border wall and secretly then disperse illegal aliens by plane all over America under the cover of darkness. And the crime waves, where are they? In Democrat-run cities where leftist district of attorneys have actually made crime legal while Democrats defunded the police. Democrats applauding our Biden for vowing to crack down on illegal immigration and fund the police. It's kind of like a gang of arsonists applauding their leader for vowing to do something about the problem of how it's getting really hot in here. And the most glaring difference of all, in the alternative universe, the State of the Union is strong. President Biden is competent, popular, and can talk for a solid hour coherently. So the big question, how do I get out of this universe and go live in that one? At least until 2024. Well, it's too late to make any difference now, but in Wisconsin, which Biden won in 2020 by less than 21,000 votes, an audit led by former Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman found so much corruption that Gableman said legislators ought to consider decertifying the vote. Gableman's investigation found problems with drop boxes, ballots gathered from nursing homes, and with the $9 million given to election officials solely in Democrat districts by Facebook billionaire Mark Zuckerberg, which, by the way, violated the state's bribery laws. Now, while there's no mechanism, none at all, for changing the outcome of the election of 2020 at this point, this report is still valuable because it shows the weaknesses that were exploited in the last election and how the election system needs to be reformed and how security must be tightened. And at least 10 states have already moved to ban or restrict the so-called Zuck bucks that were used to influence lopsided turnout in 2020. It also gives Americans all the more reason to be a little suspicious about what's going on when their social media accounts get shut down for spreading, quote, dangerous misinformation, end quote, if they are to express any doubts about the integrity of the last election. I have doubts about the integrity of a lot of things, and that is just one of them. Next up, because COVID is still a thing, let's check in with the maskers in deep blue New York City.
Mask for loved ones, mask for friends. It's not about you, also not hard to do. Just because we're tired doesn't mean it's over. Mandate masks, that's our ask.
Oh my gosh, some people actually must enjoy wearing the mask and demand it for everybody, even if it doesn't do any good. Singing, if you can call it that, about forcing you to wear a mask, my gosh, imagine having to be around these people all day. But let's now go somewhere else. Let's go from New York to Florida. Here's Governor Ron DeSantis this week.
You do not have to wear those masks. I mean, please take them off. Honestly, it's not doing anything, and we got to stop with this COVID theater. So if you want to wear it, fine, but this is ridiculous.
Oh boy, I love that. What a contrast. In New York, wear a mask or die, or at least be yelled at by all the Karens running around the streets. Go to Florida, the governor walks in and says, take those masks off. You look stupid. It doesn't mean anything. It's theater. If you want to wear them, you're free to do it, but you don't have to. That is a real breath of fresh air. Well, until next time, these have been the facts of the matter. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to leave a like, then subscribe, and hit the notification bell below. Now, if you didn't like it, you ought to find a Ben Shapiro video to detox you with more facts.